Hello everyone, and welcome to another watercolor tutorial. We're painting a hayfield inspired by Guan's art, or like a pathway in a hayfield. So we're going to start by just painting the background first, like we usually do. So I am taking, trying to figure out what blue I'm going to use. I want it to be like a grayish muted blue, but I say that all the time and then it's not vibrant enough, so maybe I should just go for like a nice vibrant blue. Oh no, that's purple. See, that's not what we want. And that is way too blue, so that's not what we want either. Often it's better just to take blue and then add a bunch of gray and it kind of mutes it down. So we'll do that, I think. So I am working in landscape position here, so I'm just gonna apply that. That's way too dark, but whatever. I'm applying it to like the top third, I would say. And then I'm going to switch gears to yellow and apply the yellow on the bottom half. The issue with this always happens that it kind of makes this green in the center when I combine, obviously, because yellow with blue makes green, but I just don't have the patience to wait for it to dry. And we're gonna have a brown pathway here. And again, this doesn't have to be very precise because we're just laying like the foundation, if you will, or the road map for what this is going to look like. So yeah, I'm just filling in the rest with yellow. Just so we have a base to work from, because when you just start with white, it's a lot harder to fill it all in and whatnot. And what is happening here is something I don't like. That's frustrating, but that's what you get when you tape something to your piece of paper because you're too lazy to tape the borders. So I'm gonna let this dry. I'm gonna zoom out because I'm inevitably gonna make that go off the page. I'm gonna let this dry and then we're probably gonna do a second layer because, or maybe we won't. Let me see, let me think about this. I smudged the end here now, which is quite frustrating because now it's kind of green because it's mixed in with the yellow. But luckily we'll cover most of that because we'll be painting like shrubs and green trees there. So I'm gonna let that dry and we'll come back and see what we do with it. So I think that this is mostly dry now. I'm just going to pick up green, maybe a lighter green to start with, because we can always darken it, add shading and whatnot. And I'm just going to, like, this is going to be my horizon, not really a horizon line, but we'll just call it that. And this is where I'm going to have a bunch of shrubs, mostly trees. And so using my size 14, but the size of the brush doesn't matter so much here. You can use whatever size you have and very much make it work because it's not really a task that requires detail. So you can have different sizes of trees, some big, some small. some more pointy ones. You can add pines if you want. But they'll all mostly be pretty abstract looking anyways, so don't get too hung up on the details in this portion. I say not to spend too much time on it, but I feel like that's exactly what I'm doing. You just want some kind of base down there, and I'm going to pick up some black and add it to my green. And I want to make this base a little bit flatter, so I'm adding that black just because like the underside of trees or a forest tend to be a little bit darker. So I do want to give that impression that it is. And you can add shading to some portions of your trees. So I guess the sun's coming from the right, so I'm just adding darker shading to the right side of every blob that I have painted. And I might add yellow or orange as well, just to give it a little bit of variety and whatnot. I'm gonna take a smaller brush for just adding some like yellow details to the tops, although this is not very yellow. So what I personally want to avoid, and this might not be a thing for you, but I don't like that the tops of the trees are so rounded. Like, trees don't look like that. They are more fluffy. So that's what I'm trying to do by dabbing on the yellow to the ends of them. I'm just trying to make them more jaggedy and less perfect. Perfect in the sense that the lines are really smooth. That's what I want to avoid. And because I added that yellow, I just want to go back in with the black with green again to redefine those shaded regions. And we can always go back in and, you know, add a little bit more when it dries a little bit, because right now it's quite wet. But what I do want to do is start working on the bottom half of this painting. So it's kind of like a path in a hayfield almost. So this reminds me of when I would spend my summers in Poland as a child. We had, I mean, there's a lot of hayfields in Poland, and we would just kind of wander through them, because like when I was 5, 6, 7, 8, Poland was still largely undeveloped. And so, what is my point? There was a lot less infrastructure and a lot more hayfields. I guess that is my point. So this is exactly what I wanted to avoid, but I'm impatient. This happens in every single painting I paint, and it's probably never going to stop because I don't have time to just wait for paint to dry, literally. So I'm going over those first layers again, because the first layer, they were very watered down when I painted them first. So, shoot. I need to be a little more aware of what I'm doing here. The brown is kind of spreading into the yellow, which is not that big of a deal, but not really what I was intending. Honestly, guys, I'm kind of tempted to leave it like this and just call it a day. A very simple painting, but that is not my style. This looks way too plain to just leave like that. We have to add details to make this a little more than what it is. So I'm just adding, I don't even know what this is, hay, grass, whatever. I'm just flicking my paintbrush from the brown pathway upwards towards the yellow. And I'll probably do the same except with yellow, starting from the yellow, using yellow on the bottom here to achieve something similar, although I feel like this is a waste of my time because I'm just going to go over it with brown again. So I should have waited until I was done with my pathway. But I don't know how to make this look like a hayfield. I'm not really good with these kinds of details. And typically the paintings that I look at, or the reference photos that I look at, they are acrylic paint, and so it's so much easier to achieve these like individualistic details. I'm complaining because I could have chosen not to paint this. This is bothering me, the fact that that faded out. It's very annoying. But I don't really know what to do. I am kind of, because like there's no way I can achieve this with watercolor. Or I'm sure there is, but I just don't know how this look, this like shelved hay look. I can't even describe it to you what I'm trying to paint. But I am taking brown watercolor and I am going to try because that's all I can do. So it basically looks like a tractor or some vehicle flattened hay here, and so it's leaning up on the sides, and this is all supposed to be raised like a meter, and it's so hard to achieve that look. I don't know how to. Like this would have to be perfectly. I think what I'm going to do, just to maintain perspective, because this line would have to be totally straight running all the way across to achieve that look. And the reason why I'm dotting it is because if I just paint a straight line, then painting these individual strands that go up would like it would look obvious that there's a horizontal line there and it wouldn't look very good. Whereas, I mean, you can still see it, so I already messed up there, but so obviously the further you go that way, perspective tells us that we need to make our little strands smaller and smaller and smaller, so it looks farther away and whatnot. So the bottom should have been the same, where it all kind of starts from one area, if you know what I mean. So maybe if we add some yellow back in here, we can solve this. I totally get why people want jobs where they can just show up like and get paid. They get paid just for being there. Like obviously you do the work that you're paid to do, but if you're feeling not as great that day or whatever, like it's not like your pay will be reflected if you're paid hourly. But this, I very much feel sometimes like sometimes you just don't feel like painting. And I mean, you guys, I'm sure you can understand that if you just enjoy painting. Some days you don't want to paint, and some days you feel a lot more inspired to pick up your paintbrush. And today's just one of those days where I am not feeling this whatsoever. But I can't, obviously I could just be like, nope, today I'm not gonna paint. But if I do that, then I'm never gonna paint, because I don't want to paint very much these days. There's a lot of things that I enjoy doing in the summer a lot more than painting. No offense, but that's the reality. I would way rather be at the beach. I would way rather be outside in my garden. But this has to be done. In the winter, it's a lot easier to do this because I don't feel guilty for being inside the house. Because it's cold, it's snowy, and you're opportunities to be out, like winter's so much longer than summer to begin with, so you know. But there's no use in complaining. Nobody is forcing me to do this. If you've been following what I'm doing here, I'm really just trying to make this look like a wall, and it's, you can still see that line that I was supposed to dot, but I clearly did not dot it. I wonder if I can somehow like smooth it out. I'm adding some white watercolor here, hoping that that'll do something to the yellow. Maybe hide the brown details that I painted earlier. I'm just trying to, how do I make this look like a shelf? Not a shelf, but like it's a meter higher from the pathway. I don't know. I just don't know. I've taken darker brown. Maybe if I just make the pathway itself a little bit darker, it'll help a little bit. That's doing a little bit. Okay, when I darken the pathway and then I made my brush strokes go into the pathway and then out and dragged some of that color out as well, that made it look a little bit better, I think. Adding some black as well. But this line here is still bothering me quite a bit. I don't really feel like doing anything about it. Now I do need to paint grassy bits into like basically the opposite of what I did here. So there's a little bit more texture added there. Not really quite as much as I would like, but I mean, maybe if I just go a little bit higher above that dreaded line that I painted and make this a tad bit thicker. That looks like a child painted it. Oh my god. What can I do to cover this up and rectify this situation? Usually I add like tree branches or something at the top, and then it just, everyone focuses on the foreground details, but I can't just put a tree in the middle of a hayfield. So that's not really gonna work. Maybe some like foreground wheat growing upwards. The trees that I painted here dried way lighter than I wanted as well. So what I'm going to do is go over, not like the whole thing, but add some black shrubs. Basically just one black shrub. Oh man, I really don't like how this looks and I don't know what to add. Maybe we'll add just a fence in randomly here. Little fences in the distance always make things look a little bit nicer. I'm just gonna dry this first. Okay, so I'm taking my quadruple zero brush. I'm taking black watercolor. And I'm gonna just have, I hope this is dry. If not, I'm probably gonna cry. And I'm gonna have like a fence post. And you wanna make these fence posts really, if I say abstract looking, I don't think you really get what I'm saying, but just don't like hyper specifically put down a fence post, just draw a line on, and however it goes on, that's how it goes on. Just try to keep them the same length and roughly the same thickness. Unless you're going like away in distance or whatever, which we technically are, so that's probably what we should start doing, is painting them shorter and closer together. So this one should actually be way bigger because it's much closer to the viewer. Same with this one. And then these ones will be a lot smaller. Like little dots in the distance. Okay. And then we can add posts. So you can either have them crisscrossing like this or just going horizontally across like that. So that actually did make it look a lot nicer, in my opinion. Let me know what you think. But it now kind of looks like there's something happening here. So now I'm tempted to add a fence post on this side as well. Just like a random one here. Honestly, I should have added some brown to the black. kind of messed up there, but we'll just say that that was intentional. So the other thing I want to add, just so these fence posts don't really look like they're floating, I mixed the yellow with a tiny bit of black, and we are going to add little shadows coming from the fence posts, and I'm making the shadows directionally go the same as the trees. Like the shadows of the trees, I mean. And, what else can we add? I don't know. Maybe we should just leave it like this. Leave it the way it is. I salvaged something in my opinion. Actually, one thing I will add, since it doesn't take too much extra effort, is, oh my gosh, that is so frustrating. Sorry, my acrylic paint kind of exploded on me. So I'm cleaning that up. Anyway, I'm taking white acrylic paint and I'm adding the tree trunk details, and I realize, like, that's not to say that all of these trees are birch trees, but maybe just like the light is shining on the tree trunk. I don't know, but it looks better than not having anything there. Don't you think? And this is optional, like you can probably even use black or brown watercolor and it would look very similar, like you'd achieve something similar. I may have overdone it there, but I'm okay with that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Please let me know what you think. I tried really hard to salvage this. So hit like if you liked it, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.